Welcome everybody. So today I want to talk about Revit 2027, what it can do and what it can't do with the AI assistant. So things that it can do, it can generate schedules, create sheets, manipulate sheets, create sections. Unfortunately, it can't create 3D views. So the Autodesk assistant right now is really good for beginner users and able to fast track the ability to manipulate the Revit metadata. Good for experienced users if they want to quickly re-tag, relabel, and do a lot of data manipulation. It's not very good at understanding your company DNA, as it doesn't understand, naming conventions, standard conventions of tagging and other things like that. So if you give it something, you have to be very explicit on how you do it. Things that it's really good at doing is creating a schedule. But with that schedule, you have to actually be very specific of what you want in the schedule, how you want it formatted, but it can create the schedule. Other things it can do, like I said, one of the easiest ways to get into stuff like this is with sheets. So it can do a lot of stuff with sheets, renaming sheets, creating sheets, relabeling sheets, quantifying sheets. Other things that it's really good for is looking at quantities or the metadata and kind of giving you out things like material being used in your walls, other things that you might want to quantify as far as like sheet count and things like that. Things that are lacking in the ability is trying to manipulate views, so isolating things, turning things off, creating sections it can do. I tried creating an isometric 3D view. It said it doesn't have the ability to do. But one of the things that I'm starting to see with the MCP or model context protocol is that they're kind of thinking in the idea that we might be able to connect the Autodesk MCP and actually use Claude, Gemini, or ChatGPT instead of their own product, which is kind of a good thing if they allow us to access that. Other things that we, if Autodesk is listening to these videos, is we need the ability to add a markdown file, which is just a TXT file. This gives us the ability to give our own personal company standards or the DNA or flavor of our company. So this gives us, like, we have connected Claude to ours, and with the markdown file with the TXT living in a Google Drive that is connected to a Google Drive stream that then can be deployed to ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, Notebook LM, one source, one MD file. We believe that if given the ability for the AI assistant in Autodesk to connect to it, we would be able to kind of scale it and be able to do a lot more things, be able to really build both the company standard, the ability to design quickly, and to build really great high-rise buildings like the one you see behind me here. So the idea that the MCP is actually part of the Autodesk pipeline allows us to think that they're not thinking as their AI product to be one God tool, but the ability through maybe the API or something to allow us to develop on other platforms as far as integrating Claude, ChatGPT, Gemini into the Revit using their MCP that's already standardly built into Revit 2027. So anyways, this is an early version. It's very early. It's a tech demo basically, but I'm excited to see what Autodesk is going to roll out. I had to give it a try. Things that I liked about it, it can really quickly manipulate. You don't need to configure, everybody's desktop, so this thing's already deployed at scale. The one thing that I want is the skills. I want the skills and the ability to funnel this thing into a rule-based AI product where it has guide rails. It won't turn my Revit model into a pretzel, and I could deploy it and give it to everybody and feel confident that everybody can use it. Tell it to create a sheet. It takes the standards from my company, builds the sheets using the company's standard sheet conventions, fills in the right parameters, the need to organize the browser, and then moves on to the next thing instead of having to describe and have the user be incredibly frustrated by giving it a huge detailed thing and then watching it build something that is not right. So anyways, this is kind of my first thoughts. I'd love to hear what everybody else is doing in the industry with Revit 2027, AI assistant, what they've been successful at. But anyways, I'll be trying these kind of things with AI products as far as in construction, architecture and engineering as the year goes on. So I'd love to hear what you guys are doing. If you like this kind of content, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. Anyways, thank you again.